Greetings to all my tech heads out there in the KevTechify nation, and if you're new here, welcome. In this episode, we're going to look at Endpoint Security Overview. We'll be discussing LAN element security, traditional endpoint security, the borderless network, security for endpoints in that borderless network, network-based malware protection, hardware and software encryption of local data, network access control, and then network access functions. This episode is part of my series on network security. I'm Kevin here at KevTechify. Let's get this adventure started. Various networking security devices are required to protect the network perimeter from outside access. Some of these devices could include here a hardened integrated services router. This isn't just a normal router, this has been hardened, so you've done some security stuff set up on that. You could also have an ASA firewall appliance, an adaptive security appliance there. You could set up an intrusion prevention system. You could also have a AAA server, authentication, authorization, and counting server. Because many attacks originate from the inside the network, securing your internal LAN is just as important as securing the outside network perimeter. Now, there are two internal LAN elements that you need to secure. The first one is the endpoints. This is where data ends. You can think of this as your servers. You can think of this as your end users. Here, this is probably like a DMZ. And what we have is we have our email servers, web servers, DNS servers. This is all endpoint. You need to look at securing these. Plus then we also have our hosts. We have our laptops. We have our desktop computers. We need to make sure that those elements are secure. Then we have to look at our network infrastructure. Our network infrastructure includes our switches. So this is infrastructure. We have our layer 3 switches, layer 2 switches right here. So this is also infrastructure here on that. And these hosts down here, these were endpoints. So we need to make sure that these two internal LAN elements are secure. Historically, employee endpoints were company-issued computers which resided within a clearly defined LAN perimeter. These hosts were protected by firewalls, intrusion prevention system devices, which worked well with hosts that were connected to the LAN and behind the firewall. The endpoints also used traditional host-based security measures, which included antivirus and anti-mail software, host-based intrusion prevention systems, and host-based firewalls. The new era of bring your own devices, or known as BYOD, needs here of our workers have required a different way of approaching endpoint security. In many networks, the network-based devices are disseparate and typically do not share information among themselves. Additionally, new endpoint devices are not good candidates for the traditional host-based endpoint security solutions because the variety of devices and the variety of operating systems available on those devices make it just not a good manageable solution. Organizations must also protect their endpoints from new threats, and they have to provide these new levels of protection. Some of the things that organizations must do here is provide anti-malware software, and that's going to stop malware from getting to the endpoints. When we're going to look at spam filtering, this is stopping that bad email from coming in. We have blacklisting here. This prevents endpoints from connecting to websites with bad reputations by immediately blocking connections based on that latest reputation intelligence. And then last, we have data loss prevention. A lot of people call it DLP. And this prevents sensitive information from being lost or stolen. If you like this episode on Endpoint Security Overview and you get value out of it, and depending upon the platform you're using, please click that like button, give a 5-star rating, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Doing this supports the channel, which in turn helps me bring you more great content. You can also visit my website at KevTechify.com for all of my details on how to get these episodes in video and podcast form. Protecting endpoints in a borderless network can be accomplished by using network-based as well as host-based techniques. Here are some examples of devices and techniques that are implemented host protections at the network level. First one here is anti-malware protection. And typically it's referred to as AMP. It can be either in a public or private cloud. Then we have ESA. ESA could be down here, email security appliance. We have WSA, web security appliances. Then we also have something like network access control, also known as network admission control. These all work together to provide security for your borderless network. Endpoints are also susceptible to data theft. Now, if a corporate laptop is lost or stolen, the thief could scour that hard drive for sensitive information, contact information, personal information. They can look through that hard drive, whether it is booting into some sort of live distribution, Linux distribution, like Kali Linux or something like that, or taking that hard drive out and putting it in another system. Now, the solution here is to locally encrypt the disk. And we want to use a strong encryption algorithm, something like a 256-bit AES encryption. Now, the encryption protects the confidential data from your unauthorized access, from that threat actor gaining access. The encrypted disk volumes can be only mounted for normal read-write access with the authorized password. The purpose of network access control, NAC, or a lot of people call it NAC, is to allow only authorized or compliant systems, whether managed or unmanaged, to access your network. It unifies endpoint security technologies with the user or device authentication and network security policy management. And now NAC systems, network access control systems, they can have different capabilities, profiling and usability. This recognizes users and their devices before malicious code can cause damage. The second one is guest network access. This manages guests through a customizable self-service portal that includes guest registration, guest authentication, guest sponsoring, and then a guest management portal. We can do security posture checking, and this evaluates security policy compliance by user type, device type, and operating system. Finally, we can do incident response, and this is mitigating network threats by enforcing security policies that block, isolate, and repair non-compliant machines without administrator attention. The goal of network access control systems is to ensure that only hosts that are authenticated and have had their security posture examined and approved are admitted onto the network. Network access devices can function as the enforcement layer. So right here we have network access devices. We have switches, layer 3 routers, and you can see we have all of these network devices. This is our enforcement. Will they allow them onto the network? Now, they force the clients to query a radius server. So all of these network access devices say, okay, you have to go into our radius server here for authentication and authorization. Now, the radius server can query other devices such as antivirus software, servers, and reply to the network enforcer. So the radius server can then go out and ask, do they have a good enough antivirus? If not, we'll provide them a link to go to that resource to improve it, and they can only go there until they improve it. And so we can vendor all of these different servers out here to see that. AAA can go ahead and do that, send back a response, and then they get that notification here. That notification will tell them, are you allowed onto the network or not? It was my pleasure to provide you with this wonderful episode on Endpoint Security Overview. If you like this episode and you got value out of it, and of course, depending upon what platform you're using, please click that like button, give a 5-star rating, leave a comment. This all helps me bring you more great content. Please take a minute to subscribe to my channel. All of my socials and contact information are on my website, KevTechify.com, and you can get all these episodes in video and podcast form. In the upper right is my playlist for my series on network security. In the bottom right is one of my favorite videos that I picked just for you. Thank you so much for watching this episode on my series of network security. Once again, I'm Kevin. This is KevTechify. I'll see you next time for another great adventure.